Something I talk about pretty regularly on the show is I think football is getting smarter. And it doesn't really matter what business you're in. Things change, right? I'm in the cable TV business, and we have something called cord cutting, where a lot of young people are just getting rid of their cable and they're moving to streaming or YouTube TV. And you have to adapt constantly. Even now among streaming companies, your Hulus, your Netflix, your Disneys, they're losing billions of dollars. Now it's very, very hyper competitive. And people are starting to say, my streaming bill costs more than my cable bill, and I get more sports on cable. And, I look at the NFL right now, and how do you tell if you've got a really, really great coach? Because offense is obviously the key to this thing. 70% of coaches now, head coaches, are offensive coaches, and they're having a lot more success than defensive coaches. How do you know if you have a great coach? In the National Football League, my answer would be when they make you think for an extended period of time that an incredibly average player is really special. And that's why I think Mike McDaniel of Miami may be our next genius coach. He comes from the Kyle Shanahan tree. That it is remarkable that Tua, when he has to play trailing against San Francisco, trailing against the Chargers, with a fairly decent pass rush, not only how ordinary he looks like a third-string quarterback. You could argue he looks like a college quarterback not physically good enough to be in the NFL. I mean, I've never heard of a quarterback starting a game like 3 for 17. I've never heard of that from a backup. But Mike McDaniel still has Tua despite his last 2 starts, disasters, completing 66% of his throws, 275 yards a game, 22 TDs and 5 picks. I mean, we think in New York, Brian Daboll is a really good coach. He took Josh Allen to another level from, is this guy going to make the league, to an MVP level player. But even he is limited with Daniel Jones. After about 6 starts, Daniel Jones has an absolute ceiling. When I look at the Tua story, it's really a Mike McDaniel story. Can you imagine how good Miami would be with this coach if they had Herbert, Burrow? I mean, last 2 weeks, Tua isn't an NFL quarterback. Small, unathletic, brittle, overwhelmed. We're very lucky. Football is giving us, I think Lincoln Riley at the college level similarly is just smarter than almost anything we've ever seen offensively at the college level. I mean, and where did Mike McDaniel come from? San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan. Look at what he's doing with Brock Purdy. He got Garoppolo to a Super Bowl. I like Jimmy more than most people, but he has a clear ceiling. They don't throw the ball up the sideline with Garoppolo. Because I think you're in the conversation now, when you look at Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan, they're going to humiliate a lot of defensive coaches going forward. We have coaches now who are completely next level. And a lot of this is just due to safety. I mean, Nick Saban acknowledges now he can't keep people in the 20s if you have an NFL quarterback. Saban can't. College level can't. But I look at this Tua Mike McDaniel story, and we have ourselves a borderline offensive genius in Miami. This coach is really, really special. So the Monday night game between the Patriots and Arizona, Kyler Murray goes out, and we get stuck with a backup quarterback, Colt McCoy. I don't want to embellish, but I don't remember a year in my life, and maybe I'm getting older and my memory is fuzzier, but I don't remember a year in my life there have been more ugly, unwatchable standalone football games. Now, the 1 o'clock window or 10 a.m. window, depending on what coast you live on, that window is still compelling. You don't necessarily have the best teams, but you have 7 or 8 games ending at the same time. So there's always a couple of games that are fascinating. But we have now like a pretty regular trend where the standalone games, when that's the only one you get, are really, really hard to watch. And why? Now, the ratings aren't going down. Ratings are up this year, largely because legalized sports gambling has added jet fuel. People stand around and sit around and watch a game longer because they've got some money on it. And as more states roll out legalized gambling, that's going to be a rocket booster for television ratings in college and pro football, especially pro football. But I think one of the things that's happening, and I think about this a lot, is we know quarterback play is better than ever. We're getting more talented, quality quarterback play, college and pro football. Kids now have 10,000 snaps by the time they're 12 and 13 years old. So it's not that the quarterback play is going backwards or regressing. I think what's happening, we've had almost 55 quarterbacks play this year. I think there's two things happening. Athletes are getting bigger, stronger, and faster. You see it offensively with the number of players now who routinely make one-hand grabs. Athletes are just better, taller, faster, longer, stronger, more electric. And that means also defensive players are stronger, better nutrition, faster. The collisions are worse. And so part of it is there are more gnarly collisions, more quarterbacks, even the big ones, getting hurt, and more backups play. And I also think there's another thing happening, and I think I've discussed this on television on FS1 before, is that the NFL is such a big business now that owners are all billionaires. All of them are billionaires, meaning writing a $35 million check to get rid of a coach after 1 or 2 years is a rounding error. You're seeing staffs get blown up faster, more often, coordinators being fired more regularly, more often, and the pressure in this billion-dollar business to win now, you're playing quarterbacks sooner than ever before. They come out of college with 1 year starting football, boom, get them to play. And the quarterback play, I mean, Justin Fields is really talented, but it's rough. We're watching him learn on the job. We watched Trey Lance for a couple of games. He's learning how to aesthetically throw the football right on the job. And so you have this demand to win instantly, more coaches fired, players being asked to play sooner, more injuries, backups play, and it becomes really, really ugly football regularly. So I think that explains why there's been so many bad games this year. Again, it is not hurting television ratings. I mean, I sat through every second of the Patriots Arizona. I know it's my job. I still find it compelling to some degree. But this does feel like it's becoming a more regular trend. Standalone games, when you're forced to watch one game, there's more ugly ones, more backups, more brand new coaching staffs, more new coordinators. And it makes for sometimes really ugly football.